ArtCadets, and welcome back to my Tuesday Scribble Challenge. I think this week I'm going to make it a little bit easier for myself, and I'm going to try doing more straight lines. Last week was a real challenge because I scribbled for ages, so I'm going to put my blindfold on, do some scribbles, and then we'll get into the painting. Try and fill the paper again. I'm going to consciously try and do more straight lines to make it a bit different from last week. I think that'll be enough. So here's today's scribble then, and to start with I found on the left hand side a shape that looked a bit like an egg, so I thought I'd make it into a little bird, and I thought I'd either do him coming out of an eggshell or possibly even sitting in a nest. So then I picked out on the right hand side the shape of a mummy bird, and I thought the mummy bird could be leaning up to the little bird in the nest and possibly bringing the little bird a worm. And I think through drawing less of a scribble compared to last week, I did find it a bit easier to see sort of some possibilities with the scribble that was there today. And so I went over with my black fine liner, pulling out the details I wanted for this week's drawing before I started the painting. So I'm using my watercolour paints again this week, and the paper I'm using is watercolour paper, because I'm really into watercolours at the moment, and I like the smooth colour and the way they lay down on the paper, and the fact that you can layer them as well, which is really good for this sort of challenge, because watercolours are transparent, so that means that you can do other colours over them and it still shows some of the colour from underneath. So I didn't go with too many colours for this picture, and I think sometimes that can be more effective than going mad with lots of different colours. So I generally went for a light brown and then picked out some sort of feather shapes, which I did in a darker shade of brown, and then some grey later on as well. And then around the birds themselves I picked out the shapes of some leaves and decided to do them in a few different greens just to make them a bit more interesting. So for this part of the drawing I did change from a larger brush to a finer brush, still a round brush though, because I find that really helps to get into the details, and it still holds enough paint to do quite a good amount of work before you have to load up with more paint. So as I've said before, when you're changing colours with watercolour, you have to make sure that your brush is really clean. So I have my two containers of water, one for cleaning your brush and one for sort of a final rinse as well, to make sure that you don't dirty your next colour with either dirty water or some leftover colour from before. Then round the bird's neck I added some red, I think, to the brown that I'd already got, just to make it a bit more interesting and kind of give the bird a sort of an autumny colour. So the colouring around the baby bird in the nest was meant to be, well, it was meant to look more like a nest. I'm not sure if it worked really well, and maybe I should have done him in an eggshell after all, but I think I was still quite pleased with how it came out. And the brown colour along the bottom I kind of made out to be the branch that the nest is sitting on, and used the different shapes within the nest area to do different shades of brown and grey to make it different from the bird's body. I also did some grey colour here, which I think actually was probably a black, just really watered down, and that was meant to be the underside of the bird's wing. And as I said before, I think once you've got the sort of the drawing that you're doing, as it comes together and you fill more of the colour in, you can get a bit more confident with what's what and have some fun playing around with different shades of the colours until you're happy with the finished piece. So just adding a darker brown on the branch at the bottom of the picture, just to frame it and give it a nice contrast to the colours of the birds themselves. And as you can see here, I'm just adding a light wash of a really crisp blue that's meant to represent the sky. And just added a few darker areas to make it more interesting. And once that was dry, I then went in to add the final touches. So I used my black Pigma Micron pen and just filled in some eyes and the little worm that I said in the beginning, so the mummy bird is feeding the baby bird. I then also added some wood effect to the branch that the nest is on, and a few details to the wings. I also added some hatching just to make the nest more nest-like, if that's a word. And then I was done. All I had to do then, once it was dry, was take off the frog tape that I'd got securing the paper down, and I really like this effect because it gives it a really nice crisp edge. And then we were done. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to do the thumbs up, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.